It's a beautiful airport. One of the best airport I've been at, but it's pure glass. So when I went to put my bike together, it literally looked like I was like a TV show because all of the taxi drivers are standing by the window, like, what is happening here? And they see all the bike in pieces because when I pack it, I literally pack it like the wheels are off, the chain is off. I needed to pack it really small, so the derailleur was off. Like it was just pieces. And so I just was like, okay, putting it back together, pumping the tires, everything. And everyone's watching and everyone's standing around. It was crickets. I was like, we're going to see what is this going to turn into? And then when it finally got done, the men were like, oh, do you see that? Oh, it's a bicycle, everyone. It's a bicycle.
Best magic trick ever.
Oh my God. They were like, wow. And they saw the bag, they saw everything get on it. And then there was a guy who was there picking up a family member, and he was a journalist. And he came to me and he's like, I have to write about you. This is, he's like, I said, like, my cousin's here, the whole family's here. We're supposed to be in a car to our destination. We just sat down and watched you put your bicycle together. And it's like, I want to pitch your story. I want to know your number. And I was like, okay. And even the taxi was like, are you gonna need a taxi? No. Like, you
No.
know where
All right. Well, I guess I will get started.
Okay.
My name is Mary McGowan. I'm a bike commuter in Greenville, South Carolina. I run the blog Rebel Without a Car, really more of an Instagram account where I talk about bike travel. I'm also very involved in bike advocacy. So I am thrilled to be here interviewing Judi Desire today. Judi, I want you to introduce yourself and give a little background on your relationship with cycling and what you're doing now.
Oh, well, thank you for the intro. My name is Judi Desire. I'm broadcasting from New York, Harlem. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but I was a avid strap hanger for a very long time until I learned how to ride a bike in 2010. Um, and that was as a result of um, wanting to just see the world and I it's a mix of wanting to see the world and which it would result in into seeing the world, but it was more of being told that if I wanted to see Europe, I would need to learn to bike and swim before traveling across um, to a different country, and I didn't know how to do either. And so I have to say I am a successful dead man float and a avid cyclist. And that was 2010. Even though born and raised in New York, I felt like I became a local tourist in my own city, enjoyed and see how easy it was to get around by bicycle. And in 2012, officially sold my car, cut my Metro card, and became a cyclist, a commuter cyclist, and then transitioning to a bike tourist. And yeah, and now I'm in New York. I've founded in 2017 Uptown and Boogie Bicycle Advocacy. And that allowed me to address like cycling infrastructure and just highlighting cyclists in Upper Manhattan and the Bronx. And that was also a result of traveling and trying to find my people too. And yeah, here we are. We blossomed in 2022 into an agriculture organization, help bring farm fresh food into the Upper Manhattan and Bronx area. And we're going, several years strong. And we're hoping to be much bigger in 1 or 2 more years.
Fantastic. That's awesome. I really enjoyed listening to your Mappy Hour interview, and I'm just going to
Yeah.
encourage everyone to listen to that interview to get a bit more um, uh, of a sense of, or maybe the tip of the iceberg, probably, on everything that you've experienced traveling by bike. And I just so enjoyed listening to your description of like how you traveled, how you got into it, your experiences. I could relate to so much of that when you talk about don't plan too much, just go with the flow.
Yes.
I guess one question that I had from that interview was, do you feel like you were able to maybe go with the flow more as you went on, or did you just start out with a this kind of laissez-faire attitude towards like, oh, I'm just going to go and see what happens? Because I know for me personally,
Yeah.
I was terrified and I let a lot of what other people said to me, like,
Mm.
you can't travel by yourself, like, you can't do this. Oh, that's too scary. So I don't know if you heard that or if you had that experience. Yeah, what was starting out like for you?
So I'm an only child of an immigrant parent. So I lived in a little bit of a bubble and was surrounded by uh, packaging to make sure I'm never hurt. And so I've learned to tell anybody anything. So, if you frighten your mama, you will definitely frighten everyone else. So she didn't even know. I think she realized she had a hippie child, and so she was just like, well, she turned 18, there's nothing I can do. But so it was like my mom kind of put me in bubble wrap, and I was not allowed to learn how to ride a bike. I wasn't given skateboards or roller skates. I couldn't even have a pet. It was just like you you are protected and shielded. And so I find out with my friends too, if I told them I was just gonna bike and just figure it out, that I would get oh no, how are you doing this by yourself? And what are you going to do? And where are you going to be? And So I just, when I planned my very first trip, that was traveling to Brazil, to Rio. I met a good friend of mine. We still stay in touch, that we were taking the same Spanish class in Barcelona, which is Catalan, not Spanish, but anyway. So we got there, became really good friends, and then we both went to our respective countries. And my birthday is December. I'm December 30, so I'm the end of the year. Everyone forgets me. I'm forgotten, and that's usually when I take my trips. And I thought, oh, where would I go? And in a happenstance conversation, she was like, "Look, I'm in Brazil for maybe 1, 2 more years max, and I'm leaving. You want to see Brazil? Come." And I just thought, well, ticket please. And so, uh, but it was going to that trip and trying to understand how to commute around Brazil is when I found a blog about, these two French cyclists traveling by bicycle to Brazil. So I went to my bike shop and took the bike that I used to just commute around the city and convert it to a touring bike, put it on a plane, head off. And the night before my flight, I was with dinners with friends, and I was like, "Oh, just by the way, I'm not only going to Brazil, but I'm going to Bike Brazil. See you." And so they're like, what? And then I was on a plane the next day. So I was just like, do they can't stop me. So I went, and one of my friends was like, I knew something was suspicious when you didn't give too much travel plans. And she's my best friend, and she's learned that I'm gonna do it without anybody saying, you could give me all the warning you want, but I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's put that in the parking lot. So I I decided I was going to do the biking. My friend was like, I bike, my dad bikes, let's bike. And so, traveling with a bike and finding someone to bike with was really made it safe. And I wouldn't say safe, but it made it comfortable. I didn't feel when I was in Brazil, I was frightened or anything. I feel especially in New York, just being a female on a bike, a lot of people just like, "Ooh, don't kill that one." Like everyone's just like, everyone's just like, you just kind of like this mouse on the road. It's just like, oh. So I felt like that in Brazil. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, there's a woman. She's riding around. Like, don't hit her, stop!" Like, and then you kind of go. So I actually felt like the bike protected me, gave me my little shield. And people were more open to talk to me and figure out. And yeah, it was like the cute little baby in the stroller with my bicycle. And my friend was really great. I met other cyclists who was traveling in Brazil, traveled with them, saw how they planned and mapped out. Um, I have no sense of direction, so there's many times in my trip I went the wrong way and just kept going. So I don't plan. I'm terrible at planning. I feel like when you start planning, you plan to fail. That's how I feel like with me. Every time I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and completely opposite happened that whole day. And so I just learned to literally roll the dice, see what's the next cheapest plane, what's the next cheapest direction, and then head there and figure it out when I get there. So that's how I
Wow, that's great. I can relate to so much of that. And I think
yeah.
some of that applies to bike commuting here at home. People will say,
Yeah.
I can't believe you're going to ride your bike at night, or oh my gosh, like in that part of town.
Yeah.
And that's often where I meet the nicest people or feel the most comfortable. And so it
Yeah.
does sometimes feel like a different reality that you're living in. And I
Mhm.
strongly relate to not really talking about a trip before. Now, at this point, people just know I'm gonna like I work for a school district in the summer. They're like, "What you got planned for this year?" And so I think the more that you do it, the easier it gets. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I recently went on a trip in my backyard here in South Carolina, and I didn't really talk about it very much, in part
Mhm.
because I didn't want other people's like opinions to affect my trip. And a lot of people
Yeah.
were like, you're gonna bike tour here? Like, what is there to
Yeah.
see? And that just brought the
Yeah.
energy down so much.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
So I just went
Yeah.
out and I had one of the best bike trips that I've ever taken right in my backyard. So as you're talking, I'm like, oh yes, absolutely. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. And then I also learned so much from a blog, and I learned from
Mhm.
seeing people on social media doing these things. And
Mhm.
I think that storytelling is really important. So I wonder if you kind
Yeah.
of feel the same, like if there were those people that you meet, and if you've
Mhm.
had this experience, you see them and you're like, well, nothing on you, but if that person can do it, like maybe I can too.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's
Yeah.
anything that like sticks out in your mind and your story that kind of gave you some inspiration to just go after it.
I think so yes, being in New York City, everyone's like, "Where are you going? You're in New York City." And I traveled past New York City to Canada, and there is New York City and there's New York State. So it was interesting to see and to see how big New York is. So I just went on a straight line,
Yeah.
but I could have gone left and right and still spent days biking in New York. So I understand when people are like, but you're biking in your own state. It's like, yeah, my state is massive. um, but the one thing I did learn is finding other female bike tourists who traveled either within the US or outside the US. And it gave me a better insight of the female body, what it goes through. We react much different to the biking experience. And I was just, I learned, just the way things are going to work, things are going to shape. I already had my mother would call the fire thighs or the matchsticks because every pants would have like burns in the thighs. And so biking did not help. It made the thighs even more bigger holes. So I was like, I envy the people who was like, oh yeah, I bike. My pants are fine. I'm like, I can't go a month without the pants turning on fire. So that's the one thing I learned that will happen. Just bigger thighs, um, and appetites, the way you eat, the importance of food. Don't make any decisions when you're hangry. I've
Oh,
learned.
I loved your bit about
Yeah.
Nutella. I
Yes.
literally keep a jar of Nutella on my bike. You just can't eat
Yes.
enough, right?
Oh my God. I mean, I make bad decisions, but I didn't realize how bad it could get when you don't eat. Like,
Yeah.
have had that tell before you get on that road. But yeah, so I have to say the biggest advice I received was from other female cyclists who gave me a really like shock about my own body. And just I was like, oh, we're talking about this. We're free about this. Oh, this is not personal. Okay. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I made decisions along the way and that helped me out. But that was, I would say, the biggest advice came, of course, from the women. Um, I did have a lot of male, so I would bike and meet other cyclists and tag along other bike trips, other people's bike trips, or you meet another solo cyclist and you're just like, oh yeah, let's be buddies for 2 days and then separate. But I learned that men are rabbits. They're just gonna run off. And I'm like, and I've calmed many of them down. I was like, you need to stop and take some pictures. Like, why
Tell
are
me.
we flying through this? Like, so many times I've been with male cyclists and they're like, so we're not going like 20 miles an hour. I'm like, what? Who going 20? Like, I said, we're gonna stop at least 14 times before we get to our destination. But so yeah, so it's like but then I also realized I need to speed up also. I can't be too laissez-faire about the road. But so yeah, so the male cyclists sped me up. The women cyclists taught me about my body. And then just meeting various ages. I'm just like, oh, I could do this until I'm 80. This is great. Like, so yeah, I would like, and then I met some people that's like, I retired. I'm like, you can retire from cycling, like a bike touring. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. She's like, yeah, at 89. I'm like, 89, we retired. I said America, but you put you on the bike way back 70. But yeah, so I met, and that was one of the best people who just spent the whole time just hosting and taking on various cyclists along the way. I learned about networks like warm showers, couch surfing, um, the side and people who allow you to couch surf on their couch. You just meet them one random day and they're like, you need a place to stay. And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, not knowing where you're going to sleep is very interesting. Um, but it was also exciting too, because it was just like, oh, I have to choose between buying food or a hotel. I'm gonna find a bush and I'm gonna eat a nice meal.
Oh yes. Yes, I loved that part of
Yeah.
that mappy hour interview too. Yes. That
Yeah.
that rang very
Carry
true.
yes, carry the tent. That's the best hotel you'll ever have. A tent.
So
Yeah.
that reminds me, a couple years ago I flew to Iceland and I put my tent in the bike box that I
Mhm.
flew with, and my bike got left in Canada. And so I showed up and I'm like, dang, I don't have my house. Like, so now I might be a little bit more, especially international, I might be more inclined um to bring my tent with me on my carry-on and pack a
Yeah.
little bit differently. But
That's
but
true.
on the other hand, that also led to its own like little adventure. So I don't know if anything
Yeah.
sticks out to you, like something that on the road just seems like it goes totally wrong and then ends up being like maybe a favorite memory or uh something that worked out.
Um, I never just see things going wrong, but I like Bolivia was one of my greatest and worst trips. You don't realize you're a sea baby until you go to a non-sea level area. So going through Bolivia and trying to adjust to the altitude, it was yeah, it was amazing. It's like, why people live this high? And then you realize, no, 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 you just live too low. Like everyone else is above sea level. But that, and then having people who are very familiar with us sea level babies, and peeling us off the road. That was like, I just, a lot of cyclists was like, oh, prepare for it. And I just didn't understand what they meant. And I was like, oh, prepare for the altitude.
Yeah.
So that, um, and then there, I wouldn't say things go wrong, but there's more countries where, as a female, you're by yourself and you just get prone. So I learned to wear a wedding ring when I travel.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, there's
yeah.
one that comes with me, and I put it on. So I was like, oh, we need to not look single. So my
Yep.
husband's on the way. Yeah, he's
Hmm.
somewhere back there. He's coming tomorrow. Yeah, so I think that's some incidents that happened to me, and I was just like, oh, biking single by yourself. Um, there's so yeah, I would say in South America was altitude, like the Middle East region was wearing, uh, and Asia was very much of like we never seen muscular women, so I had to acknowledge I am a female. So I was like, anytime they just like poked at me, and I'm just like, I'm a woman. These are real. Like,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, I was just like, yes, we have little muscles. We can form them. Yes. So there was that. There was a lot of times I had to remind people that it's a body that has muscles. It can form. It could happen on ladies.
Yeah.
So we ran into that, and I had to like wrap my hair because people wanted to pull at my hair. Literally got yanked at.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I had to like before bonnets there was a do rag, so I would wear the
Yeah.
do rag everywhere. Now, if I were to travel again, I would probably put on a bonnet, but it was do rags everywhere or handkerchiefs, kind of like to hide the hair. Um, so there
Interesting.
was like those kind of cultural shocks that were for them, but it was for me, like too, because I was like, wait, I mean, we've been on this planet for a minute. Like, why am I this weird, this exotic thing? I'm just like, I'm not one of millions. So
Yeah.
that's usually I was like, oh, we all having culture shock today. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and I wouldn't say I'm bilingual, but I'm not. Like my parents are Haitian both sides, so my mom speaks. I was raised by my mom, so she speaks French, Spanish, English, and Creole. And I've watched her literally like whole like language switch growing up. She would switch around. So I was raised more with Creole, but I didn't realize how much of a base that was for many of the countries I went. Haitians are everywhere. French people are everywhere. Like I was able to like use my tiny Spanglish to get around. When I went to South Africa in Mauritius, I was able to use Creole, and they was in Mauritius, they spoke Mauritius, I spoke Creole, and we knew each other's sentence. And I was like, wait,
Wow.
yeah. And I told my mom, I'm like, do you know other people speak Creole? Like, I was just like, so yeah. So that was like pretty shocked of the very minimum base of languages I had got me through some situations or helped me or
Wow.
get help. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big linguistics nerd, so I'm
Yeah.
like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I need to like make a note to go look up more about that because it's interesting how you find all of those connections
Hmm.
and connect with people all over. I spent a summer in Morocco learning Arabic, but I ended up learning a lot of French. because I've taken
Yes.
some French and having the basics there helps me like communicate. I really liked what you said about making sure you're taking the effort, making the time to learn how to say please, thank you, hello, like the
Yes.
basics
Yeah.
wherever you go. And
Yeah.
I so strongly agree with that. So I think
Mhm.
armed with that like sense of curiosity, that sense of respect, and also that sense of
Yes.
humor that you have about things, I feel
Yes.
like those are the main things that you pack, right?
Yeah, it is. I remember when I was in Turkey, I picked up, and it's weird. I also pick up accents when I travel.
Yes.
So I start talking like everybody else. I was like, how did I pick up a Turkish accent? I only been here for a minute, but for some reason, I pick up people's accent and sound like everybody else. And I like picked up a couple of words, and I was able to like crack a joke, and it just got me some massive amount of alcohol and food just because I cracked a joke in the accent and in the like you start when you start traveling, you start seeing some culture things. You're like, oh, this is funny. Like, yeah, like, oh, they do
Yeah.
this. And then people who are just like who take in their own culture and laugh at it. So they're like, "Oh yeah, we do that." And I was joking about how Turkish can be very poetic. They kind of sound like the Trinidadians, like, and yeah, I was just joking about how the language sounds like so much poetry, and it was a joke. And I tell you, it was just like everybody wanted to buy me drinks. I got food. Like these are coming at me in many directions. And I was just like, oh, this is funny. Okay, we all laughing. This is great. I'm getting food. Everybody's excited. And I happened to ask a bartender, I was just like, why is so many people excited? And he was like, you don't understand. You've been traveling for like less than a month and you picked up one or two sentences to crack the joke. There's people who've lived there for 7 years and have not been able to say hello in Turkish. Like.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, and he's like, you come here, you just like and I walked around with a little dictionary book, and I was just like, I sound like a 5-year-old pronouncing yaka, like I was like this word, I'm trying to say this word, and and just the fact that I carry that around, and I found that book at just a stand, a regular guy selling books on a table. And I saw her said Turkish English, and I was like, "Oh, I want that one. I'll buy that book." And I carried that book the whole way. And so
And
I
seeing
always tell
people or
people,
people seeing you use it and making the
yeah,
effort, I feel like was probably really well
yes,
received because a lot of people won't make that effort. I bet people just love it.
no. Yeah, and I sound very old. Now you have the apps that can translate. You have devices that can translate now. So I sound like I've traveled in the 1800s, with books, but it was the 2000s.
I still have my
And
little Rick Steves books.
yeah, a little book, in case the phone power goes down, still talk. So yeah, but I do highly recommend, now these days everyone has an app. So use the app and go back to like kindergarten English because I realize when people use
Yes.
the app, they they would say certain things and I'm like, no one's translating that. That's only in English in America. Like, that doesn't get translated. It doesn't get translated well. Just say,
There's so much slang and expressions. It's oh yeah.
I'll hear people do the translation. I'm like, you could just say bathroom. you know, it just you don't have to create this whole sentence to ask where the bathroom is at. You don't even have to say where the bathroom, baño. Like it's just like let's not go into a story about how long you've been holding your waist. Like just ask the bathroom. Like I watch so many people like use these translating apps and they just go. It's just like, let's go down to like pre-K English. So I
Oh
tell
yeah.
people, yeah.
I work
So
with a lot of
you,
Spanish speaking families in my day job, and the interpretation, sometimes I'll say something and the interpreter just looks at me like, can we not? But that's such a great
Uh,
like way to connect with people though is like in their language
yeah.
and um I guess one question that came to mind when I was listening to you talk about the many places that you have gone. I realize it's not easy to just think of one. Doesn't have to be like the most memorable, but maybe one that comes to mind where you've like really connected with someone that is maybe like in a surprising way or really random. Um, somewhere that maybe you connected because of the bike or some shared experience. I don't know what comes to mind for you.
Um, well, I think I love my countries equally, but
Of course.
I think the trip to Mauritius was a surprise. It was either Mauritius or Madagascar, and I was looking at the price, and I just thought, well, I never really hear people talk about Mauritius. Everybody talks
Yeah.
about Madagascar or Nice, not Nice. I'm sorry, Madagascar or Reunion. So you hear those two a lot, but I've never heard of Mauritius spoken about. So I went from South Africa. I think I was in Johannesburg and I flew out to Mauritius. And when I got into the country, which I would never advise anybody to do, especially in 2020, and then but um, when you go into a country, you're supposed to say how long you're going to be there and where you're going to stay, and you have to find the hotel and you got to give your itinerary. And because I don't plan, and I was like, I flew on the day that was the most affordable. And so I don't know what's going on here. I do look up holidays. I do look to see if a country has a parade coming anytime
Yes.
soon.
Yes, that's a good one. Hmm.
That is one because I learned that from South America that every day is a parade. And so there will be days of no service. So so that was nice to know. But so now every time I go to a country, I'm like, is there a holiday coming up soon? So Mauritius is like there's always something going on, but they also have a good bike culture too. And they have like different bike rides that go on. And I had just kind of missed one. But when I went there and flew in, they were like, okay, where are you gonna stay? What are you gonna do? And I was just like, I don't know. And they were like, it's the middle of the night. How are you going to get there? I downloaded the map of your country on my phone. So I used maps.me. So before arriving, I downloaded the whole country, which is an island. It's not like it took like 14 hours to download. But like so I downloaded the map. So I assumed I won't probably have signal, but I'll need to know how to get around. So I was like, I have a map. They're like, but it's late at night. I'm like, I have helmets with lights. They're like, but the streets are dangerous. It's an island. I'm only gonna hit water. Like it's like where am I? It's like I'm not gonna end up in another country. So, so I was just like, yeah, at some point this is gonna turn me back around. But they were just like, okay, how are you gonna get where you're going? I'm like, I have a bicycle. How you know you're gonna get there? I have a map. And they're like, do you know where you're gonna sleep? No. And they're like, you have to know where you're gonna sleep. Do I? And I just thought, I said, it's an island. Everybody got family members who got businesses. So who's your cousin that has a hotel? And then
I
he was
love that you're
like,
telling them this. You're like, no, it's gonna be fine. I love that. I
everybody.
aspire to this energy.
And he looked at me and he looked at everybody and he said, do you not? Yeah, I said, come on, who's the cousin? What hotel and where website can I find it on? And he was just like, and they all looked at me and they were just like, "Ma'am, you need to know where you're gonna stay. Call somebody." And then they were like, "Oh, I might have somebody." They came back to me and they were like, "Oh, so I do know somebody who could take a late person, and their hotel is on Expedia." I was like, "Perfect,
Got it.
got it." And then I went on Expedia, found a hotel, booked it for one night, came back to them, and they were like, "Oh." you going there?" I said, "Yeah, call him. Tell him I'm gonna be there late. I'll be there in an hour." So he was like, "Uh, yeah, okay." I was like, "Let me in." So I got in, and so I got allowed in the country. And this other woman was like, "Where are you gonna stay?" I'm like, "I don't know. Go on Expedia. Go to this place." I was just like, "Where we go?" And so I stayed there, and I just booked the night, and they were like, "Fine." Seems like you're just gonna be somehow being in our country. And so I packed my bike, and so I took my bike with me and spread it out because I was like, it's late at night. I'm not in a rush to go anywhere. So I spread all my bike parts out and just started putting my bike together. And when you're at the airport, is nothing but glass. Like, it's a beautiful airport. One of the best airport I've been at, but it's pure glass. So when I went to put my bike together, it literally looked like I was like a TV show because all of the taxi drivers are standing by the window, like, what is happening here? And they see all the bike in pieces because when I pack it, I literally pack it. Like the wheels are off, the chain is off. I needed to pack it really small, so the derailleur was off. Like it was just pieces. And so I just was like, okay, putting it back together, pumping the tires, everything. And everyone's watching and everyone's standing around. It was crickets. I was like, we're going to see what is this going to turn into? And then when it finally got done, the men were like, oh, do you see that? Oh, it's a bicycle, everyone. It's a bicycle.
Best
And
magic
then,
trick ever.
oh my God. They were like, wow. And they saw the bag, they saw everything get on it. And then there was a guy who was there picking up a family member, and he was a journalist. And he came to me and he's like, I have to write about you. This is, he's like, I said, like, my cousin's here, the whole family's here. We're supposed to be in a car to our destination. We just sat down and watched you put your bicycle together. And it's like, I want to pitch your story. I want to know your number. And I was like, okay. And even the taxi was like, are you gonna need a taxi? No. Like,
No,
where they were like, how are you gonna get there? It's late at night, it's scary. And I'm like, listen, I tell people, you bike in New York, you can bike anywhere in the world. Okay. So
I
I'm
was gonna
fine.
say I brought a folding bike to LaGuardia once, and you'd think that people just minds just exploded. I just pedaled away.
Oh
No, I don't need a cab.
no.
It's the
Yeah.
best.
Bike.
It's
I
so
don't even
liberating.
People don't realize there's actually a bike lane for the employees at JFK. So you can bike into JFK using the poor employees' bike path. They just don't put it on
Yeah.
the map, but it's there. And you can avoid the air train. Don't tell nobody. So you can avoid the air train by just following the bike path into the airport. But yeah, and he literally connected with me, email. They pitched the story to the newspaper. They took a picture. They wrote about me. I was a local celebrity. So I was on an island, the only black girl biking. That was the black girl on the paper.
Where'd
So
you go?
they were like, I think that's her. And so people are just like, that's the one in the newspaper. So they took pictures, and I met the Ali family, who was also the head of the household, as an avid cyclist. He saw me, took me in as a family member, and that was and that's when I learned I can speak Creole. So his mom was my adopted mom, my you know and we spoke and had conversations, and she's just like, what? And I was just like, yeah, we're talking like two different languages. And I learned certain words. I realized, Creole is very choppy, so we chop a lot of words off. But yeah, and that was like the best. I didn't plan, but I thought, 1 month. I think I was there for two. I stayed there for
Wow.
a while. I let the family adopt me. I adopted them. On WhatsApp, we still say Happy New Year's to each other. We still, keep in touch on WhatsApp. One day, hopefully, I make it back So Mauritius is still on my bucket list. There's a lot of countries I don't go back to, and it's not because of anything about the country. It's more that I had such a wonderful experience. I want to leave and keep the memory I have. Like,
Mm,
I don't want to go back and then something bad happens. I'm like, and then that beautiful experience I had is now gone, replaced by this bad experience. So I tend to like, if I had a wonderful experience at a country, I just don't go back. I don't want to, I don't want to change that memory. I want to live in the capsule in which I was in.
yeah.
But Marisha is one of those that I was like, I'm willing to come out of my comfort zone and go back and visit and see the family again and bike it again. Uh,
Nice.
and yeah, so
Yeah.
it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was what I was also going to ask you. What's at the top? I have a long bucket list. There's so many
Yeah.
things. And then I have these conversations and I'm like, oh man, maybe that country or that city needs to kind of climb up. So like
Yeah.
maybe give me like three that are towards the top of your want to go list.
I wish I had went to Nepal when I
Hmm.
was traveling Southeast Asia. I was like, that was one, because when I started talking to other cyclists who were biking, everyone just was like, Nepal. You should have went to Nepal, 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 Nepal.
Yeah, that wasn't on my
And
list. And now I'm kind of
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go. And then everyone just talked about how bike friendly it was, and so. Nepal is one. Japan is another. I love islands, so I would love to island hop. So Japan's one. Um, Zanzibar is another. I really would love to see more of the mid and north of Africa. So I've heard really good things about Zanzibar. So I want to go there. Um, and I think those are the top like three if I were to go back to the
keep going.
continent to go to. Chile was one.
Yeah.
When I went to Argentina, I was this close. I was literally at the border, and then I went north because I forgot. I remembered and forgot at the same time that the climate will change in July. So my brain was like, "Oh, summer," and I'm like, "No, that's their winter." So we have to leave. We do not have clothing for the cold. So I just kept going north, chasing the sun. But I was very close to going into Chile. So that's another, and I just want to just booze it up along the way. I want to taste all the wine. So
Didn't
that
even think
is,
about that, man. You could have
yeah.
quite the tour.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. I think it was, yeah, traveling with Italians made me enjoy having one. I tell you, Italians will make you go to Italy. You can find them in any other place. You're just like, is there more of you? There's a whole country of you. Like, so Italians always puts you to feel Italian. So I just want to just to booze it up in Chile. Because the best bike group I biked with was Italians.
That was actually
They
another
got,
question that I had.
oh my God. When they talk about like you are like your country, like oh the country has like different stereotypes. I was biking um the Camino de Santiago de Compostela or
Ah,
Compostela, something like
that's
that.
high on my list.
Yeah, that was a random. I went to a friend's wedding and I was just like, "Oh, I'm traveling with my bike." And my friend was like, "Oh, I have another friend who's just went on a bike trip. You should both talk to each other." And then she spoke to me about being a bicigrino. So instead of being a pellegrino, you're a bicigrino, and then you bike along the Camino. And I was like, "What? How we do this? What is this? What's a
Okay.
Camino?" Like, and I'm Roman Catholic, but I've only heard about Rome and the Pope. Like, I didn't know there was like this whole pilgrimage that a lot of Catholics take. I was just like, oh, we do this, okay. uh, so it was a really a good time. I did, like I said, I just was like, where do you start the Camino? And I started in France. I just went up Spain. took the Alps and then went across. And That's even going through France and just meeting people on the way. But then when you get to the Camino, you just start seeing the different types of cyclists. Not to stereotype, but the German cyclist was very prepared. Like, I
Ways.
was just
So
like,
prepared. So organized.
oh, oh my God. I was like, I will die in the apocalypse. She'll be fine. Like, I was just like, what do you have? What book? A passport? You get a stamp? Who? What? So then she gave me a reality check. It was really mad that I was not organized about this trip.
Well, you'll
She
get a
was just like,
lecture too. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, and she had pants that can convert into a weapon. Like it was just like, that girl, where we going? What is this Camino about? She was prepared. That bike was on shape. Mine looked like it's been through war. You would think it was a vintage. Everyone thought my bike was a vintage. That's how unclean it was. It was like, oh, is that a vintage bike? I'm like, no, it's like 2014. It had stickers. This bike literally was in boxes traveling, like, so she scared me straight. It was like, get your act together. And so I was like, okay, not bite you with the German because I'm going to make her mad the whole trip. So uh, then you have French people who just, the whole pannier is full of food. You will not
Yes.
starve, but you will not go anywhere. So like,
Yes.
I was just it was bottles of wine. I was like, your pannier has nothing in it but food. And we never moved. I was just like, oh my God. The biking with French people was just like, oh, we're not going to any destination, but we're gonna be real fed. They bike like they did 100 miles. They brought food for 100 miles and did like 15. I was like, we are going nowhere. So the Spaniards was like, I'm on this.
I'm here.
We here. Like, they just- it was literally the blind leading the blind. Like, I was like, no, no, no. I'm the disorganized, dysfunctional one. Like, I can't be with another one. Like, I need, I need to be with somebody with structure. And I just tag along, but we can't both tag along because we're gonna go hungry and lost. Like, so I was like,
Is this where
Spaniards are
you
not
found
for
the
me.
Italians on this section?
Yes, then I met the Italians.
Okay.
All I heard was Bella. I said, "Oh, who Bella? Bella, come!" And they were just like, "Come on, what are you doing?" They were geared up for literally the Tour de France. Like there was
I
like no
bet.
bag, nothing. They ate, and so they would sit. Come on! It's 10 o'clock. They were drinking wine. So
They're on
I said,
vacation?
this is not grape juice, sir. This is alcohol. They were like, oh. I was like, who gets alcohol at 10 o'clock? So who's serving this? But they had like liquor and food. And they were geared to do literally the Tour de France. Like they were just in gear. The bike had nothing on it but maybe a sack. Like so,
So they had a
and
sag wagon.
they had nothing. They had nothing, but they were geared and
Oh
ready
my
for
gosh.
the Tour de France. And so we're biking. I'm like, I'm having food with them. They paid for everything. We were having a good time. I'm like, oh, I got enough courage juice in me. Let's keep going. And so I would go. I'm biking. I'm doing my little Camino. Who do I see? The Italians in the next town. I was like, how did you get here, sirs? After 3 stops, I kept meeting them. I was like, okay, we hanging out. Because obviously you know how to get to places while doing nothing. So, how are you here? And then they're eating and they sat down. I'm like, I just left you. How are we this comfortable? Did you just get, you did not just get here. And so they figured out their route. They pedal, 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 pedal,
Oh
don't
yeah.
stop, shoot, 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 shoot. When I tell you, we just blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, tired.
All on or all off. Wow.
I was just like, well, there's no speed. Let's not like, it was just like, we're going, we're moving. And so I biked with them and we got to our destination. We ate everywhere. I didn't real they taught me that on the Camino, restaurants can hit your passport. You don't actually have to go to a church or a museum. So restaurants have their own stamp. So their Camino passport was full of restaurants. I was like, listen. I was like, look at the loophole they found. My passport full of churches and museums, and it was restaurant, blah blah. Restaurant. The whole thing was
They
restaurants.
probably had a list of all the wines that they had tried, right?
My goodness. And I biked with them.
Mm,
We got to the Camino. We got to the Albergue. Then I learned that there was hotels for cyclists and there was hotels for hostels, I should say, hostels for cyclists and hostels for the walkers. You definitely need to be with the cyclists. You do not be with the walkers.
really?
I did one day with the walkers and it was BC Grinos all the way. I will not go in a hotel room with walkers because two things. You've been biking, your adrenaline is like this. You're like this.
Ah,
You're just like this, and then so you're just like, somebody play with me, somebody talk to me, like somebody calm me down. Your adrenaline is, not only that, you're going to eat massive amount of food, and so you have adrenaline and an empty stomach that can be filled and unfulfilled at the same
mm,
time. So when I went with the walkers, it was like, shh, and then you got this little tiny plate of food, and I was just like, I'm gonna starve. And then you need to be out. The hotel is like everybody was walking out at 5 in the morning. Mind you, you're a cyclist. You just put your head down, and then now you being kicked out. And so I was just like, oh no. And it was until the Italians, which was the next day, they were like, oh no, you gotta have to be with the Bisiglinos. The hotel's with the Bisiglinos. When we went to one, this woman came out and she was like, okay, I'm giving everybody spaghetti. And it was like a communal table. And I was like, how's she gonna feed all these people? I thought we all getting spaghetti. We're not choosing the food. Okay. Two people came out with a pot that was the size of my torso, full of spaghetti. Two came
amazing.
out, slapped on the table, and we went at it like savages. I said, oh, met my people. So
That's real. That's real.
I think fingers were licking the bowl at the end, and she was back, and she went back like my spaghetti because it was cleaned. There was no problem with liquor. Everybody, the French had their liquor, they shared it. The Italians figured out how to find liquor, they shared it. Spaniards had liquor. The hotel had liquor. Like, it was just bottles, clink, clang, the whole night. We didn't sleep until really late. And then because we're cyclists, they allow you to stay until 10 in the morning. So you're not kicked
Oh,
out because they know that you don't need to leave at 5. And I was just like, oh, this is the best. And that, I was like, I traveled with the Italians a little bit, then kept traveling with different people. And yeah,
wow.
that was
That's
like,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
that was a bit. Oh,
I
and
love that you can like meet people from all over the world and still have that commonality of the cycling to to
yeah,
speak the same language. And sometimes that language is spaghetti, sweet, sweet carbs.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we didn't really talk much about, I don't even know. And it's everyone spoke their language and then everyone understood everybody. Like it was like three languages going on. Everyone's like, ah yes.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. Well, I know
Yeah.
that we're um
Oh,
getting
yeah.
I don't know. We still have some time, but we're
We
getting
go
into
back.
our hour, and I want to hear
Okay.
about not just your travels, but also like your homecoming. Like what kind of like brought you back
Oh,
to where you are now and your work with Uptown Boogie, um, and maybe what you've kind of brought with you from all these travels, like all over the world. What kind of stays with you in your day-to-day work in this nonprofit space now?
um, well, what brought me back was the sad part of my trip. So in 2013, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, and so um, it was we when we got the diagnosis. My mother looked at me, looked at her, and I was like, "Damn!" Like it was just like, "This is not fair," like
Yeah.
and um and I thought, I said, okay, I want to do this trip. I want to keep traveling, but now my mom's gonna have need my support. And I was like, what do I do? And so we kind of this conversation where she's like, go travel. Go. That's the whole point of me getting to America, give you that freedom to go out.
Mhm.
So that's something she never really got a chance to do. And she was like, I know you'll be fine. Go travel, just come back, let me know you're okay. Like, just she's like, I'm not gonna stop you, I'll be fine. And so I sent postcards and I would kiss them, and I sent souvenirs, boxes of souvenirs and everything. And I remember one of my trips, I came back and I was like, oh, I don't see the souvenirs, I don't see the postcards. And I don't know, it just like fell out my mind. And then I went traveling again, sent postcards, and I just made it a point to always send postcards to every country I visited. So I knew where the post office was, and how post office works in every country. But yeah, I would send pictures of areas I went to that were on postcards, and sent it, just sent it off. And when I finally in 2016, my mom was, you could see it happening, getting about. I was like, oh, okay, I might have one more trip until I have to stop. So I did, a few more trips in 2017. When I finally came back, I was like, all right, time to care for mom, like, and it was just like in a conversation, and then she walked over and showed me an album. And I thought she was gonna like reminisce because my mother loved putting albums together, and all of my postcards were
Oh,
all in this album.
oh,
And I was like, oh, she was holding on to the postcards.
oh my
And
gosh.
then I was like, oh wow. And I found all the postcards. There was some that, because the album was too full, they just end up in a pile. And that's how I said, like, and one of my friends was like, oh, how did you journal your experience? And after, unfortunately my mother passed away in 2021. But I realized, I was like, oh, those postcards became my journal. Like, it
Yeah.
was very much
How
of like,
cool.
mom, I'm okay. And I had like lipsticks, pictures. And then what she did was she put the souvenirs into a box and bubbled it, because she was like, because it came from other countries, she was afraid it would break, or she would bump into it because she was losing balance and so she didn't want to put it out. So they ended up all in like the wraps they came with, but in a box. And so I still have many of them, which is like different cups and stuff like that. Crystals. My mother loved crystals, so I would find antique
Mm.
place. There was always antique fairs and stuff, and I would always
Yeah.
find like a crystal vase or something. And then, so when I came back, that was her last of kind of like, I remember you. I remembered your travels. Then I started seeing a decline. So I
Hmm.
felt like that was like my was her last way of saying, like, she was saying something to me, like, and I was like, okay, I'm here, I'm taking care of her. And then I started reading up about the disease. I did I You kind of hear of it being the old person disease, like Alzheimer's or whatever, but you just really don't. know that there were stages and how
Yeah.
fast or how slow. So we went back to the doctors and they were like, "Oh yeah, when she went to the doctors, like, oh, she might have 3 years." But my mother held on. I was like, I told
Yeah,
mom,
they
I
don't
said,
know. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know. So I said, well, you fighting, I'm fighting with you. And so I started reading up on like healthy food. Options are usually what's best. So it was like chasing around healthy food. We
Mm.
did live in a neighborhood that had supermarkets, but the produce, I mean,
Yeah.
after traveling, you realize, oh, so mm, we don't really have food. So I'm like,
And it's maybe been shipped from Chile, and you're
yes.
like, I was there. I know how far away that is.
Yes, yes. And you're just like, I know when I ate salad, I was fine. Like I had people who would tell me they've gone travel and they eat way more than they ate in the US and came back with 1 pound or lost
Yeah.
pounds.
Hmm.
And so I was just like, oh, and then it was like chasing around fresh food. And I was trying to figure out where do you find fresh food. And I was commuting between Washington Heights and Queens, Jamaica, Queens. And so I was buying food in Manhattan, bringing it over to Queens, then having to tell the aides how to prepare, and
Yeah.
so it was like finding the fresh food, bringing that back, and that definitely helped. I wouldn't say it decreased the speed. Like it wasn't as fast as so that was helping, staying with me helped, and just coming back and caring. But at the time before COVID, if I said I was caring for my mom, it was more like, oh, it's your mother. You could just put her in a nursing home. And I'm like, negative.
No.
No. Uh, when my mother was diagnosed, it's sought a lawyer of just like, what do we do? And so I end up getting, health proxy and power of attorney. And my mother was like, "I'm giving you this, but you're not to put me in a nursing home." And my mother was a homemaid and worked at a nursing home. So when she said that to me,
Oh,
I
she
was like,
knows. Yeah.
"She knows." And so it was like my mother was like, "You," I said, "No, mom, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna just bounce between houses, and you're going to stay in your home." And so when I would go to jobs, I freelance. I was at the time I was a front end developer doing software engineering. I'm
Mm.
a techie. So in the beginning of my trip was doing what is now considered remote, what was called nomads.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
uh, you remember you were called a nomad, but now it's called remote. And that helped with my work. But then when coming back to kind of like the freelance world, it was hard to kind of balance caring for my mom. And so there was times when I would get a job and I was like, oh, my daughter is sick. I need to take my daughter to the hospital, because it
Mhm.
was easier to say that than saying I had to take my
Yeah.
mom to a doctor's appointment, or, you know
Yeah.
with COVID, now with family leave, saying that you're taking care of an elder is more acceptable. But at the time, it wasn't. It wasn't as easy. And
Yeah.
you had a lot of people who were just like, I don't stand caring for a parent. I'm like, yes, do not do this. Like, yeah. So, I was just like, wait, do I have to lie to say I have a kid to actually get a day off? Like,
Mhm.
to so yeah, so that was another thing, was like the importance of like, caring for elders. So it was very important for me when I meet another caregiver, especially through what is now like my farmers market and farm stand. I'm like, I get it, let's hold hands. You're doing a great job. Like, here's how to take care of mom or dad or whoever you're caring for. And even home aides are just like, I'm here to buy food. I was like, buy this, do this, make this meal, care that way. And so caring for elders, and especially having love for elders. I was a oops baby, so I showed up really late in my mother's life. She hates when I say that. She was like, "You was a miracle baby," and I was like, "No, I was a oops." So, but that's cute. I like it. But yeah, so I understand having an older mom and caring for an elder, and so elders are a special place in my heart. And gaining access to fresh food was also one thing. Being a cyclist, seeing how access to healthy food was so accessible on my trips, but not accessible at home. And so now you see a lot more farmers market and more talk about food insecurity, especially after COVID. But we're talking about 2010 to 17 to 21. None of this was a conversation like it is now. And somehow kind of like slowly rolling back to bad
Yeah.
habits. So I'm like, remember, we went through like 3, 5 years. Like, let's not forget
Yeah.
no. Um, so that and coming back, finding cyclists. I started the bike organization, trying to then in within the cyclists. Many of them were like, I would love to eat healthy. I would love to be able to have access to food and do things, but my farmers markets when I'm at work, or I have other things on the weekend. I can't get to the market, so I just go quickly to my grocery store, and so that gave birth to wanting to have farm stands, farmers markets. I had future farmers markets, but it was more farm stand and community supported agriculture programs that allow people to have like more weekly produce. And that's in Harlem. So my mom passed before I started the nonprofit, but she's still who I contribute the beginnings to. And yeah, so we became community supported agriculture in 2021, and in the Bronx and Pelham Parkway, and talking to a lot of the community members. We were in the Bronx Park, inside the park, and people coming by running and biking, and it's very much a recreational area. It was just like, oh, this is cute, this little stand, but we need more. So doing more meant I had to transition to a nonprofit status to gain access to accept nutritional benefit programs.
Mhm.
And we became a farmers market in 21 in the Bronx. That's going on. Always looking for farmers. Um, and Harlem, we had gained access to a community garden, and that is the location in 21. We started out as a farm stand, and in 23 we expanded from we still stayed a farm stand, but then expanded to a farmers market. So we're going on our like second year, third year. I don't even know. It's a blur. But
Yeah.
we are slowly bringing in those programs and expanding. And yeah, the nonprofit, you know, the climate's changed since, so we're bootstrapping it still.
Hmm.
uh, Getting funding as we grow to bring more produce into the area. I've gone through a lot of fellowship programs to help understand how to improve the business. So we were fortunate to receive a grant to build a greenhouse, and that greenhouse has been a tremendous learning experience for myself and many people. So in the community garden in Harlem, we built a greenhouse. We've grown a couple of herbs that we've given to families. But it's interesting when a lot of the kids get their herbs and they just want to water it, water it, water it, and they come to me and they're like, "It died." I'm like, "You overwatered." Like, here's another seedling that's a little bit older. They can handle some of the overwatering. So it's like you get to see a lot of the kids do that, and some adults too. Like, what happened? It died. I'm like, you put it in the sun. When did you water it? So it creates that type of conversation, and we're hoping to bring um, I would say we want to transition also to like house plants. So I've been propagating my plants at home and making little pots so I can distribute for the fall. I mean, sorry, for the summer into the fall. But right now we're just like doing little herbs, and we're growing for other community gardens areas to provide them seedlings. So I'm still learning how to do that. So that's a new adventure. Is also seedlings, and having the farmers market. I'm trying to find more farmers. With this climate, a lot more people want to buy more local. They're starting to engage again into buying local produce or more farm fresh produce. And so we're hoping to fulfill that, which is seasonal from June to November.
Hmm.
And yeah, we want to expand to more sites. That is the future goal, to hit more areas in farm stand kind of models. But yeah, we have our composting project, which is our kiddos participate and enjoy. We gained 1,000 pounds just from our children dropping food scraps at the farmers market in the Bronx. So
Awesome.
we're looking to do that. Yeah, we are going to celebrate bike. We did not forget about bicyclists. So for Bike Month, we're gonna, have a little bit of hurrah. Like it's kind of hard to bring back the social rides like I used to and bike repair because agriculture is now demanding 99% of my brain
Yeah.
capacity. But I still have love, and we still do have cyclists that come through with their bike and panniers. So it's good to see panniers being filled up with farm fresh food. Uh, and with Bike Month coming along, we're gonna have like bike to work event at the I'm sorry, at the community garden. We're gonna hold a bike to work event and just celebrate the cyclists in the community. The weather has been nice, so we're starting to see cyclists back on the road. So that's been good to see. People back out, and so we just want to kind of say, "Yay, we see you!
Yeah.
Keep
Awesome.
going." Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where we are right now. So we officially now called Uptown and Boogie Healthy Project. We kept the Uptown and Boogie, we kept the community we serve, so Upper Manhattan and the Bronx, and we're just expanding to several other healthy projects in agriculture and sustainability. But
That's awesome.
so,
Well, I'm just so inspired, and I just have to laugh because just before this I was running around planting stuff in my garden, getting ready for spring, and we had to move a community plant swap because of the thunderstorms predicted for this afternoon.
oh,
But I set them
oh,
out front of my house and I texted the neighborhood group chat. So I've been watching people like come and pick up plants and exchange. And so just hearing you talk about this, I'm
oh,
like, this is this is just so cool.
nice. Oh,
And my
that's
sister lives
cool.
in the Bronx, so I'm definitely think I'm gonna need to pay a visit and
Yes.
check it out in person.
Yeah, come visit sis. Come to the Bronx.
Yeah, yeah, that is
That's
awesome.
cool.
Well, I'm sure Annalisa is gonna come in and
Yeah,
cut us off.
okay.
I really could talk to you all day long.
Yes. Hope
Um,
we yeah, I hope we hit all of our um
we had a bunch of them. I know we had a whole list of
yes.
questions here.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have us back for a part two. But I feel like
Definitely.
I think we got a good sense of your sense of adventure and your just like approach to life. And I hope that more people are inspired to go out and do some of the
Yeah.
things that you're doing and then to come back and like make that impact in your community. I can tell you're just super passionate about that, and I share so much of that myself. So um
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
It's
And
good.
so, like, where can people
Yeah.
find you and find out more about you and Uptown and Boogie?
So you can find me. Our URL is ubhp.org, which is Uptown Boogie Healthy Project. And I'm on the socials, Instagram and Facebook mainly. We are also on LinkedIn. You could always reach me that way. I think my friends realize that they'll know more about what's going on in my life on LinkedIn than social media. But yeah, so social media is where you find me. I still do have the bike website up, which is ubbicycle.org. We are hoping to merge that into the nonprofit's website. But it still crawls. It still gains traction. I just gotta make sure I update it for Bike Month. Um, yeah, and that's usually the best way. Um, Email, ubhp at ubhealthyproject.org as a email that I check regularly. If anyone has any questions, if it's agriculture or biking, I still answer it. I still bike now, but mostly for the organization. So the bicycle helps transport the setup of the farmers market, the table tent. So
Yeah.
now, yeah, so now the bike has a little trailer, little
Gonna say
buddy.
you gotta have that trailer set up. I was just at
Yes,
an event yesterday and had to haul it all home. Yep.
my
Regular
gosh.
bike or
So
e-bike?
regular bike, I'm still human
Okay.
power. Oh, well, maybe electricity might be coming sooner than later, but we still powering through the legs for
That's
now.
that's amazing.
Um, yeah, but we still bike. I still bike with now with a trailer transporting supplies. So a lot of community members now, they've gotten used to the many bikes that I have, and they're familiar with three of them. So there's many times I go to an event, and when someone goes like, "Oh, the folding bike's here, Judy's here, where's she at?" Like,
Yes.
Oh, when I'm at the garden and they see the bike, they know I'm there. So my intern was, they're like, "Oh, she just walked away." He goes, "Judy's somewhere here." It's just that people will come in. It's like I see the bicycle, and so I still tread
That's
around
great. When
with my
when
bike.
I don't want someone to know that I'm in
Yes,
the building, I'll like put it around the back. Be like, I'm right
yes,
here.
yeah,
I'm in and
yeah,
out. They see the
yes.
bike. Yeah, yeah. And I recognize people by their bikes sometimes before them. So
Yeah, my intern laughed. My intern's like, "So is the bike going in or outside the shed today?" And I was like, "Oh, it's going in because they're gonna come and find me. They gotta know I'm here."
oh my God.
But yeah, so I'm still recognized by my bicycle. I went to a recent like just job interview, just like working on stuff. And the first thing they're like, "Oh, is there anything you have?" I'm like, "Are you bike friendly? Is there a bike parking? How's bike a culture here?" And like, "Oh, we never thought about." I was like, never mind.
That's
So
great.
that is a
What's your
requirement.
bicycle friendly business status? I need
Yes.
receipts. I need your report card from that
Is
lab.
there a room? How the bikes are being stored? How are cyclists supported? Like, so
Yeah,
yeah, I've had companies that's like, I think we have a reimbursement program for cycle. We'll find that out. I'm like, yes, find that out, please.
that's great. Oh, I love
Yes,
it.
that
Advocacy in
shifted.
action.
Exactly. So I tell cyclists, I'm like, when people are saying about biking to work and like work, I said, find out what your bike culture at your work is. You'd be surprised that the many buildings are now having bike carousels in garages or nearby garages. There's like more support for bringing in folding bikes into buildings now. I don't get stopped as much as I used to. It's not weird anymore to bring a folding bike in. So, yeah, even at the airport, like you mentioned, bringing your folding bike on the airport or bringing it on, I've taken it to the Metro North. And I've seen like a more change, people, conductors are like, "Oh, bike." Before I used
Yeah.
to be like, put it in here, you have to move it here. Nah, nah, nah. Now it's just like, oh, bike. Like it doesn't phase
Yeah.
anybody anymore. So I'm glad to see that from
Yeah.
some people.
Yeah, I grew up near Philly and it's been really neat to see those like cities like New York and Philadelphia change from
Yeah,
when I was
yeah,
a kid and you'd visit and now I'm like, all right, I know I wasn't biking around as a kid, I wasn't biking around these cities, but just seeing how much those cities have changed and really like come to life as a result of
yeah,
the infrastructure and a lot of organizations
yeah.
such as yours just doing really really big community work. So
Yeah. So get on the road, get on the bike. I would love to like say I'm going on planes still, but it's mostly local. So it's me in the
yeah,
Metro North. And so it could be as a small trip, putting your bike on the Metro North. You'd be surprised where the Metro North would drop you off and finding that type of road. I tell people you don't really need to get all geared up with clothes.
yeah,
I think it's interesting that on my trip, the less I looked like a cyclist, the easier it was. So I had normal clothes like everyone else. I didn't need the helmet as much. There's other countries where is a significant difference in your class status.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that part, that question where that was an unexpected part of the interview that I listened to. That again,
Yeah.
everybody should listen to. So if you're watching this, make sure you've seen the other
Yeah.
one. Because there's some
Yeah.
like really good points about those cultural differences that you might not even like think about. And Lord
Yeah.
knows everyone here in the US has an opinion on that. But you
Yeah.
start thinking about other cultures and the differences there and the nuances. Um,
Yes.
yes, yes. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna make everybody
Yeah.
listen to your other one to find out why helmets can be, well, yet another reason that helmet um uh vigilantism can be a bit problematic. So
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I learned not to be afraid to bike in the rain, and we're not made of sugar, so we'll be fine. Like, so enjoy the rain, enjoy the
yeah.
weather. Yeah, it's good.
Enjoy the ride, whatever it
Yes.
brings. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy it. I have a great time on it. This is where I think that's where most of planning or arguments in my mind, self arguments and planning happens on the bike.
Oh
So,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I always feel better after a bike ride, and if this rain holds out, I might be able to sneak one in this afternoon. So,
Yeah.
well, it
Yeah.
was so great to talk to you. I know
Yeah.
that there'll be a little outro here in a second, but I want to thank
Okay.
everybody so much for coming to speak or listen to us and listen to Judy and her story today. So be sure to look her up, find her at the Upstate and Boogie Healthy Project, and stay tuned because I have a feeling that more adventures are on the way.
Yeah. See you at Uptown and Boogie Healthy Project. Ooh. Nice.
And see.
Okay. Let's see.